I thought that I would do a video about how I use credit score companies, because credit scores are a bit inaccurate. I think people struggle to understand what they're useful for, what they're not useful for, and I think it helps to explain a little bit about that. So, credit scores are not a guarantee of lending. Your credit score doesn't guarantee you anything. Mostly, credit scores and the credit score company that you might be with is mostly useful for advertising yourself as a reliable person to give a product to. So if you are never in debt, if you always pay your credit cards when you're supposed to, if you've not had any bankruptcies or CCJs or anything like that, you can end up with a good credit score. And that can be useful for several things. There are some things, however, which do not appear on your credit score, and in that way will not make it very helpful. So, your income. I am self-employed, therefore zero income appears on my credit score. As far as my credit score company sees, what it sees for me is a zero income. It does see that I pay all my bills, so your utility bills are on there, so I pay all my standard household bills on time, and I pay my credit cards on time because it'll see all your credit cards, it'll see all that, it'll see how much debt you've got, it'll know if you're paying those off regularly and when you're supposed to. And that includes if you have, say, a 0% interest. It'll show the debt of the credit card, but it'll show if you are paying the minimum payment that you are supposed to pay back every month. Some I've had 0% credit cards that haven't asked for anything, particularly if it's a lower amount they've lent you. And higher ones will tend to graduate the amount. So the more you spend, the more your monthly payments go up. And as long as you keep paying those off, you'll be absolutely fine. Other things that do not show up on your credit score are rent. So I've been renting on and off for nearly 30 years, and rent has never gone on a credit score. There are some moves to change this. Certain landlords, particularly big landlords, can register to be on the system, and they will register that you've made your payments. But most landlords won't be on it. And if you want to have that added to your score, it's only with certain companies. So I use ClearScore, which aren't part of that scheme, and you have to pay for it. And in fact, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. If you're paying for everything else as you're supposed to, you're already proving that you are someone that is reliable. Mortgage payments, of course, do count because, like a credit card, they're a form of debt, so they will appear, and those regular payments will also help you. So having a credit score is only useful if you want something from it. So I only use my credit score, my ClearScore account to get credit cards. And I only use it when I get pre-approved. So the better you are at paying things off, the more reliable you look, the more likely you are to be offered credit cards through these companies because they'll see you as a safe bet. But if I went to a credit card company, just as a normal, straightforward customer, I would never be approved. No chance in hell will I ever be approved for a credit card. But because I have lots of things registered with ClearScore, and I've been doing that for years. I'm on the electoral register. I pay my bills on time. They can see what bills I pay, bar the rent. They can see the credit cards I've got. They can see that I pay them off when I'm supposed to. I'm a safe bet for lending or giving a credit card to with a limit on it. So because of that, and because I am a fairly sure bet, I will get lots of offers within ClearScore, and some of them will be 90%, like a 90 or 95% chance of approval, and that will be for credit cards. It will be potentially for loans, like car loans, things like that. It will also be for balance transfer cards, which is where you can get a credit card and use it to pay off another one. And you will also end up getting pre-approved, which means that you've already been cleared to have this card, but you don't know how much they're going to lend you until you go through the process. So those are the ones I always use. If I want a new credit card, I will look for the one, it needs to be pre-approved, it needs to be 0% interest for X amount of time, and I try to aim for 1 year plus, and then you go through the process and then you find out how much they're going to lend you. So it depends. And that's how I've always used it for credit cards. I have been offered 7 credit cards in the last 3 years, pre-approved, and I've got every single one of them. And once I've had that card for the amount of time that it is 0%. When it gets to the end of the 0%, I pay it off, and then I put that credit card in archive and I keep it for emergencies. That means that I have built up quite a good emergency fund of credit card. Now, those then, after that 0% interest has expired, it then becomes a normal credit card. So you would have to pay it off monthly or accrue the interest, whatever the interest rate. And some of them are as high as like 29%, the ones that I've got. So I don't use them. I would have them there for an emergency. So if something happened and I desperately needed to get my hands on £1,000, let's say I knew that I had a fixed rate saver account that was ending in 2 weeks. So I knew I had £1,000 coming back, but I absolutely needed this for, maybe there was a car repair or something else had happened and I desperately needed this money. I have 7 or 6 credit cards that I can choose from. Now, I don't get credit cards out because of particular things. I do something called stoozing, which is where you take out a 0% card, you put all your normal spending, you don't blow it, you put all your normal day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month spending on that card. So your grocery shopping, your petrol. I have subscriptions to things, not like TV or anything. I have a subscription to Shopify for my business, for my website. I have a subscription to Power Director 365, which is the software I use to edit all my videos. So I put all that on there. I put my car insurance on there, my home insurance, my business insurance, and it means that I can roll over those costs. And instead of then spending that money, it sits on that credit card until the end of the term. And that means that I can keep more money in my savings account for longer, and that means it's earning interest. So I am earning money on a 0% credit card by having that amount of money in the savings and not being spent. So for instance, my latest credit card I have got, which I got in August, is a Barclaycard Platinum. It's a 2-year 0% interest, and I got just under £3,000 on that. So that means that for the next 2 years, I can put all my spending on there, provided I stay within the limit. And I keep a spreadsheet so I can see how close I'm getting to that limit, so that I already know that I'm not going to make it to the 2 years without needing to get another credit card because I would have filled up that one. And that's fine. I will know at a certain point I need to start looking for another pre-approved card through ClearScore, and then it carries on like that. But I'm going to try something else. There were 2 things I was looking at. There was one question that I saw in the Money Saving Expert forums, somebody saying, what about, you don't have any debt, you don't need a loan for anything, but you take out a loan from a credit score company, it's a 0% for a year, and you take that money, and instead of spending it on something, you just stick it in a high-end savings account for 1 year and earn the interest on it. And that is a thing. You can do that as long as you are getting enough, interest-wise on it. Or it might be that this loan has a very low interest rate and you have a high interest savings account you could lock that money away for a year. So that's another way of doing it. The other way of doing it is something that I am now trying, which is I have never taken out a balance transfer credit card. I have always, when I've got to the end of the 0% interest term on a credit card, paid it off. The money has been sitting in a high interest savings account, and now I'm going to use it. I haven't spent it, it's still there, and then I just take it out and I pay off the credit card. That credit card goes into archive, and then I go on to the next credit card. But I thought, maybe I will try this. Maybe I will see whether this is something I can do. I have 2 credit cards that are going to need paying off fairly soon. I have one that needs paying off in December, and I have another one in February. The one that needs paying off in December has got about 800 spent on it, and then I stopped using it. The other one is a much lower amount. I've only got about 200 on that one. That wasn't a great card. I wish I hadn't taken that one out, but it's still a 0% interest, so that's fine. The money that I've spent on it has been in a savings account. So I had a look, because you get offers popping up from ClearScore all the time, and I had an offer for a balance transfer card. It's 0% interest, but there is a fee for the balance transfer. So if I use one, I applied for a card. I applied for a card with Fluid, and I got it. And it's £1,500, and you're allowed to use balance transfer up to 90% of the balance of the card. So I could use that to pay off the card that's due to be paid off in December, and then the 3% fee on that card is the same value as the last payment I need to make before I need to pay the card off, which is about £23, because it will be 800 and it's about 20 quid, whatever it is. So that 20 quid would pay the 3% fee, which would have been the last payment for that credit card anyway, so that would have gone out either way. And then I get to pay off that credit card. So I've now got that credit card in archive, and the new one, which would have been the money that would have paid off that credit card, can now remain in my savings account. That's over £800, still gathering interest. And I've now rolled on that debt to another credit card that I don't need to pay off for another year. So this is my new strategy, is that I can keep paying off credit cards with other credit cards and not having to pay them off. Or if, let's say, I get to the end of my Barclay card term and I owe them £3,000, let's say I get a balance transfer card of £2,000. I pay off the £2,000, I pull the other £1,000 from my savings, but I've still got £2,000 in my savings. So that is the new way I'm going to work that, because this enables me to keep more money in my savings accounts. And at the moment, everything is in an easy access ISA, because I still need to have some money accessible. I have money in locked accounts. I have money in stocks and shares ISA. And it's all kind of just ticking over, and it gives me a small income every month from bank interest. It's not a huge amount, but the way I live, every little helps, and I have multiple income streams from small little things. It all adds up, it all goes into the pot, and it gives me enough money to be fine every month. I'm not wallowing in money by any stretch of the imagination, but all my bills are paid for and I'm ticking along. I don't worry about anything. So that's my current feeling on what I am doing for stoozing, plus this extra stoozing level of using a balance transfer card. And if you go onto somewhere like Money Saving Expert, which is the Martin Lewis money website, you will find lots of conversations in the forums about stoozing, about using these methods to keep more of your money in the bank and less giving it back to the companies. So this is a little bit of a thing that I'm doing at the moment. I've only just applied for that Fluid balance transfer card. I'm waiting for the card to arrive so I can fully activate the account, and then I can use that to pay off that other account that's due to be paid off in December. So that card will probably come through in the next week. So I've never done one of those before. That's very new. I read up on it and I got lots of information about how it works before I did it, because I don't want to end up with something that I don't want or is going to cost me too much money. So I read up how it works, and once that card arrives, I can activate it on the app, and then I can activate the 0% balance transfer, and I can use that to pay off that other credit card that's due next month. And that way, I haven't actually paid back any of that £800 that I'm due. Would have come out of my savings next month to pay for that credit card and end that credit card. So that's how I am working that. These are all legitimate methods of keeping money in the bank, and I get an endless number of offers for credit cards, for loans, for all sorts of things, and I pick and choose the ones that suit me, which are 0% interest, no theoretically real debt, because it's 0%. I don't have to pay off the whole card every month. This keeps as much money as I can in the bank, I don't keep any money in current accounts because they have lousy interest rates for those that actually have any. And I monitor all my bank accounts with a spreadsheet so I know when things need to be paid off. So there's never a bounced payment because I forgot to put money into a current account to pay for, say, the water bill. It's all there. You just have to be proactive, motivated. You want to do it. And every day I go in and just check across those accounts to make sure that there's nothing due out. And I keep my easy accessible savings in my Trading 212 cash ISA, and I have all the different payments for the month already listed in each month, and I have different colours for different things. So all the payments that have to come out on certain days have their name, the date that it's supposed to come out, and I put them in blue so they stand out. And then I can look down the list and go, right, this one needs paying now. And that'll be for things like paying off credit cards, but it'll also be for where the date to remind me when I need to put money into, say, a regular saver to maximise the interest, to make sure I've not forgotten to put it in for a couple of days or something like that. So that's how that works. And it does require discipline. But if you have lots of money, this sort of thing won't bother you. You won't care about any of this. If you are on a low income, if every penny counts, you can maximise this. And the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have a nice, reliable credit history. Make sure that you're on the electoral roll. Make sure that all your bills and all your bank cards are listed in your credit score company, because then they can see that you are sticking to the rules, you're paying off when you're supposed to, you don't have any debts, there's no CCJs, there's nothing odd going on, and your score will start to increase, and then you will start getting offers. Now, what counts as a good score? I don't think the good score even really matters. It's what you get from it. You can have a relatively low, maybe 600 on your credit score, but still get offers if you are always paying your bills off. Mine at the moment has just gone up about 20 points, so it's now 738. And I don't know, something has come off my credit score history. And some things take ages. So earlier this year, I had EE come off my credit score because I stopped having my mobile phone with them. I went to Smarty. But I did that like 5 or 6 years ago. It can take ages for things to come off. And also, if do soft checks. So a lot of pre-approved credit cards and things will give a soft check, which means that it won't impact your score. If you get a hard check for something, like my Barclay card was a hard check, it will knock you down a few points, maybe 20 points. But it will come back up again, because you will then pay that when you're supposed to, and it'll reignite that reliability that you give out as a regular and reliable customer. So if you have, debts and things, or you've missed payments and your credit score isn't company, you probably won't see offers for 0% cards. I wouldn't touch anything that's not a 0% card. And if you have debt, pay off your debt first. That's the most important thing you can do. Or if you can keep rolling on 0% cards and balance transfer cards to keep your debt paid but constantly moving on, then at least you are showing a reliability. Don't make lots of applications at once. I only apply for a credit card when I know that another one is coming towards the end. So it might be like 8 months between applications. It might be longer. It depends on the cards I have. And you might want your credit score to be really good if you have a big purchase coming up. Maybe you're going for a car loan or something. So don't make any applications for anything before that. Be nice and kind of steady and relaxed, and then you might get that. I wouldn't get a car loan. They keep offering me car loans, but there's no way they're ever going to give me a car loan, because my income looks non-existent. It looks like I spend more money than I earn, which I don't. And of course, savings accounts do not appear on your credit score. So all my current accounts, which show up on my credit score, they all show a zero balance or close to a zero balance, because I don't keep money in my current accounts because they don't earn interest. Savings accounts do not appear on your credit score. So it looks like I have absolutely no money at all. And yet I keep getting all these credit card offers, because it's not about the money you've got in the bank. It's about how reliable you are. Just be reliable. That's all you need. Put all your bills onto your credit score company and keep paying your bills off when you're supposed to, and you will build up a reputation, and then they will start lending to you. If you've got a dodgy history with payments, if you've got a bankruptcy, that's going to sit there for ages. CCJs, I think, sit there for about 6 years. So you really do not want to get into that kind of situation. So if you have a good history, you can use credit scores and credit score companies to your advantage to earn you income. It's not going to be a huge amount of money, but you can roll on debt constantly that you don't really want to pay for because you'd rather keep the money in the bank. It's as simple as that. If you have any questions about this, drop them in the comments below. I've never talked about how I use credit score companies. It's just something I started doing because I saw Martin Lewis talking about it on the MSE website. And it's a way of life now. You know, I have the app on my phone, and the app will send me notifications when there's new offers coming in, if my credit score number changes, if anything, when banks look like they're due to unlink, because you have to keep relinking your bank accounts. I'm not sure how long they stay on there. I think it's a few months or something, and then you just have to renew it. And sometimes I don't bother to renew them because maybe it's a bank account, like a current account I have, but I never use it anymore. I'm keeping it as a backup card, or I just don't want to get rid of it because that company might offer me a good deal for something like a savings account. So I tend not to bother with those because they're not doing anything. But anything that's an active account I'm using, I make sure that the links are still working, because then it can see how many accounts I have, bar the savings accounts. So I have money in savings. I have a cash ISA. I have a couple of locked fixed interest accounts which are due out. I've got one due out, I think, next month, and one due out next year sometime. I have regular current accounts that aren't doing an awful lot, but I keep everything active because it looks good to them, and that's all you need to do. So again, put any comments below. I will try and answer. I'm not a financial advisor. I am just a regular person who's trying to make a buck, basically. So if you want to find out more information, Google it. I Googled to find out what stoozing was because I'd forgotten I was doing it even. Money Saving Expert is a fantastic website. I'll leave a link there. Everything you need is on there. And when the show is running like it is at the moment on ITV, if you have access to that, go and watch his show. It's on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock and then repeated at 9 on the +1 channel, I think. And everything you need is on there. That is the most savvy place that you can get your information. It's all impartial. That's where you need to go. But drop me any comments below and I will try and answer them for you. So that's how I use them, and that's that wrapped up. I hope you found that useful. Occasionally I drop bits of things that I do financially into my week in the life posts, and people see it and say, oh, I tried that and that was really great. That's a really good idea. So I thought I'd consolidate some of it here because it's easier to find. So that's how I use credit score companies. My experience is with ClearScore. I find it the most useful, simple and free service to use that gives me everything I need. And I've been actively using it for probably about 4 or 5 years now, and it's a really great site. Very easy to use. You can see what's going on and you can get your offers. So give it a go.